So picture this. You've got an Amazon purchase you really need to return, but you realize the original box is completely vanished. You are definitely not alone. Stay tuned because today we're solving that exact problem once and for all. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to break down exactly how you can navigate Amazon's modern return system, all without having to hoard a mountain of cardboard in your garage. You know that instant sinking feeling, right? Validating that panic when you realize the original packaging is already sitting in the recycling bin at the curb. Say you bought a fancy folding sleep pillow, opened it up, tossed the brown shipping box, and then a few days later you realize it's just not working for you. In the past, this was a massive headache. But today, the lack of an original box absolutely shouldn't stop you from getting your money back. Here is our quick roadmap for today's explainer. We're looking at the missing box dilemma, Amazon's return policies, a step-by-step guide, alternative packaging, drop-off locations, and finally, timelines and FAQs. Let's get right to it. All right, part 1, the missing box dilemma. Think about how we used to do this. It was a whole production. Hunting down a decent box, fighting with the packing tape, trying to print a return label when you're out of ink, and then lugging it all to the post office. Now, it's all about what the industry calls a frictionless return. This means label-free, box-free returns that rely entirely on a digital QR code. You just flash your smartphone at a designated drop-off point and the retail associate handles the rest. Moving on to part 2, let's do a quick overview of the return policy. So, just how common is this frictionless option? Well, it turns out it's pretty much everywhere. Amazon has over 10,000 return drop-off locations across the US. To put that massive footprint into perspective, 4 out of 5 customers live within just a 5-mile radius of one of these drop-off points. That makes the box-free option incredibly accessible to the vast majority of shoppers. Now, there are a few catches. Not absolutely everything qualifies for a box-free drop-off. If you're returning something like a brand new laptop, a desktop computer, or really any high-end electronics, Amazon often mandates that those go back in their original manufacturer packaging for safety. Same goes for hazardous stuff like flammable liquids or lithium batteries, which have strict safety mandates. And if you bought from a third-party seller who fulfills their own orders, they might still want it packed up the old-school way. Okay, section 3. Let's walk through the actual step-by-step return guide. The process here is super straightforward. First, open up the Amazon app on your phone and head over to your orders. Find the item, tap Return or Replace Items, and pick your reason. But here is the absolute most important part. When you're looking at your drop-off options, you must select the location that explicitly says no box or label needed. Once you click that, boom, Amazon generates the digital QR code you'll need at the store. But wait, we definitely need to talk about the reason you select, because it can seriously impact your wallet. If the return is Amazon's fault, say it arrived totally smashed, it's defective, or they sent the wrong size, your return is generally entirely free. But if it's a customer fault scenario, meaning you just changed your mind or found a better price somewhere else, you might get hit with a fee. You could be looking at a $7 or $8 UPS pickup charge, depending on where exactly you drop it off. Interestingly, media reports have highlighted a bit of a loophole when it comes to those fees. Some shoppers actually admit to intentionally selecting options like inaccurate website description, even when they just had buyer's remorse, specifically to avoid paying for return shipping. We are just neutrally reporting how the system works based on industry sources, but it really shows how tapping a button on your phone directly changes the physical logistics and costs of a return. Section 4, Alternative Packaging. Because sometimes you really do need a box. If your item isn't eligible for that fancy box-free return and the original box is long gone, you've got to pack it yourself. It doesn't have to be the exact Amazon box, but you do need to follow their strict protocols. Find a sturdy corrugated box, specifically one with at least a 200-pound per square inch burst strength. Pat it well with void fill so the item doesn't shift around, tape it securely in an H pattern, and please make sure you completely cover up any old shipping labels so the carrier doesn't get confused. And real quick on the padding, Amazon has really updated its sustainability guidelines lately. As of 2024, they actually completely phased out the use of plastic air pillows globally. Plus, their guidelines specifically state they do not support using packing peanuts or shredded paper. So if you're packing a return yourself, recycled paper packs are definitely the recommended way to keep your items secure and stay environmentally compliant. All right, section 5, drop-off locations. So, where do you actually take this stuff? The main partners for box-free returns include Whole Foods, where you can usually just use a self-service kiosk or hit the customer service desk, Kohl's, the UPS store, Staples, and FedEx office. At these spots, you literally just walk in, hand them the bare item, flash the QR code on your screen, and they consolidate it into shared freight containers. Simple as that.
Kohl's is actually a really brilliant example of this partnership. They purposely accept your unboxed Amazon returns to drive foot traffic into their stores. You walk to their return desk, they pack it, label it, and ship it for free. And then, here's the kicker, they very frequently hand you a coupon, often for 25% off a Kohl's purchase, right then and there. It totally turns an annoying return errand into a brand new shopping trip. Finally, Section 6, timelines, FAQs, and a few disclaimers to keep in mind. Okay, let's talk about getting your money back. The absolute magic behind this modern system is called Refund at First Scan, or RFS. Basically, you don't have to wait weeks for your item to travel across the country to a warehouse and get manually inspected. The literal second that Associate at Whole Foods or UPS scans your digital QR code, Amazon's system is triggered to start processing your refund. You can see on this timeline just how incredibly fast this is. You start the return on your couch, you hand the bare item to a retail partner, they scan it, triggering the RFS, and boom, those funds are back in your bank account or gift card balance within a few hours to a few days. It is such a massive upgrade from the old days of obsessively refreshing a return tracking number for a week. Here's a quick pro tip for you. If you're returning clothing that came in one of those clear plastic bags with a barcode on it, try to keep it and bring it along. Even if you lost the main cardboard box, handing over that plastic bag helps the associates scan the inventory way faster and keeps the fabric protected during shipping. It's not strictly required, but it's highly recommended. A couple of rapid-fire FAQs before we wrap up. What if it's a third-party seller? Well, if they fulfill their own orders, you might be stuck with the old rules, meaning you'll be printing labels and finding a box. What if you have multiple items? Listen closely. You have to process every single one individually in the app. Each item gets its own unique QR code, even if you are dropping them all off at the exact same UPS store at the exact same time. One quick disclaimer here. Always check the fine print on your specific order. E-commerce logistics change constantly. The availability of a Kohl's or Whole Foods drop-off depends entirely on your zip code, and Amazon's policies on what triggers a shipping fee are always evolving, so your orders page is definitely your ultimate source of truth. I want to leave you with this thought. Knowing just how incredibly frictionless returns have become, has the lack of a cardboard box ever actually stopped you from requesting a refund lately? When you can just hand a bare item to a cashier and scan your phone, do you find yourself taking more risks on impulse buys? It's pretty fascinating to see how removing a simple cardboard box changes the way we all shop. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and happy returning.